Are you thinking about getting into the assisted living game? You're hearing all these people talking about the baby boomer generation, and there's so many people aging out, and there's not enough beds. There's a shortage of it. And then you hear beds are charging $8,000 to $10,000 a month. Is that really real for assisted living? You're like, oh my gosh, man, this is expensive. I hear I can make a ton of money in assisted living, and I can take my house and I can convert it. So I've done this. I want to show you some of the lessons and some of the hard things on it. My first assisted living was a home conversion. We bought this 1974 ranch house. It was about 3,400 square feet. We completely gutted it down to the studs and did a big addition. So now it's 6,300 square feet. We have 15 private rooms, 12 bathrooms, and we charge $8,000 per month for each of our grandmas and grandpas. This is the property where we make $40,000 net profit per month. You can actually do a virtual tour on it. If you go to platinumresortassistedliving.com, hit the virtual tour section, you can walk through the whole building. So I want to share the 3 most important lessons that I wish I would have known to make this process so much easier. The biggest obstacle to doing a home conversion is the zoning. How do you go to the city and say, hey, city, I found this house over here. It happens to be zoned residential, but I want to do an assisted living. And the city looks to you and says, well, okay, well, that's business use. And we don't allow business use in residential areas. So think from that perspective, you may be limited, right? You may be limited to 4, 6, 8 beds in a residential zoned area. If you want to do a profitable deal, if you want to do a 16 bed, they may say it is not allowed at all in residential zoning. You have to go over to this other section. It's, C1, which is commercial. Maybe they'll allow you to do mixed use or some type of multifamily like R4. If you're looking at, I want to buy a house and it's in a neighborhood, you usually can do it, right? There's always some number you can do. You can do 4 beds, you can do 6 beds, but I'll tell you what, you're going to lose money on those kind of deals. Those are the deals for people who are too scared to do a bigger deal and think to themselves, I'm just gonna get my feet wet. I'm gonna do this little deal over here and then I'll grow into a bigger deal. You're not gonna grow into it. You're gonna spend the next 2 or 3 years working your tail off, making no money. You're gonna get burned out and you're gonna say to yourself, this is stupid. I don't wanna do assisted living anymore. I'm selling this. And hopefully your property value went up because you didn't make any cash flow for the last couple of years, right? It's a bad deal. Don't do one of these little deals. And honestly, this is the biggest, hardest part about a home conversion is most houses are zoned residential. So there literally may be many, many cities that will not let you do a home conversion just because you can't get a home or some type of building that is commercial or multifamily or mixed use that you can do a bigger deal, that you can do a 16 bed on. So if you do find some of these, right, and sometimes there's the opportunity to do a special use permit or get some type of variance, be careful with those kind of situations. A lot of times there is a lot of risk there. So they can actually take many months. And sometimes you have to go before the city council and they have to vote on these things. And then you have to send out letters to the neighbors within a certain amount of feet of the property. And then they come out and get all worked up on it. And they think you are like the most terrible person because you're trying to take care of seniors in their neighborhood. Little do they know that in like 2 years, they would move their own family in, right? That's what happened to us. We learned this lesson the hard way. We started posting in our local paper that we were building our assisted living and put the address. The neighbors went crazy. They got on the Nextdoor app. They started talking all sorts of crap about how they're going to go to the city council. They're going to shut us down. They're going to sue us. They started like looking into our background and talking crap on myself and Laura. And it was like, seriously, like I'm just here to take care of these families. We fast forward, we got past all of that, and literally they are bringing their own family in. They're riding their bicycles over to us and they love us now. There is a huge misconception about what you're gonna do. So you gotta be really careful with these kind of things because you will get blocked if you open your mouth too early and you tell the neighborhood, hey, here's what we wanna do, and it has some type of vote. The other misconception that I hear people talk about all the time is fair housing law, how the city cannot stop you from taking care of people in a residential zoned area because of fair housing law. It's discrimination against people with disabilities. That's not really true. They're taking it out of context. The city can allow you to do it, right? They are required to let you do it, but they're not required to allow you to do a certain amount of beds that's profitable. They can say, hey, you know what? You can go do this. Go ahead, knock yourself out. You can have 4 beds or you can have 6 beds. Right? Some cities, they'll let you do 8 beds. Almost no cities will allow you to do 16 beds in a residential zone city. I don't know actually any of them. So from that perspective, if it throws out all residential zoned areas, it pretty much throws out all houses, which means it is really, really hard to do a profitable assisted living deal just to get past the zoning obstacle. So a tip for you is to go find the non-zoned areas. That's what I did. Where is the end of the city limits, right outside the city limits, happened to be a non-zoned area. And sometimes there's a difference between in the city and in the county. And sometimes the counties do not regulate zoning. So that was one of the hacks that I use. Go and ask, is there areas that I can do this in, right? And if you can't, is there areas that are non-zoned and I can do whatever the heck I want? And go and research those type of areas. The second biggest obstacle is ADA. That's Americans with Disability Act. With ADA, you may have to be compliant to a certain percentage. It may be 50%, it may be 100%. And really what that means, and I had to learn this the hard way, is that all of the things that are required for ADA are now applicable to you. So that means the doorways, you have to have 32 inches of clearance there. It has to open and swing a certain direction. Bathrooms that are ADA compliant are massive. They're way bigger than all the bathrooms that are going to be in your home conversion. Most of the bathrooms are not going to work. You're going to have to move the walls. You're literally going to have to jackhammer up the slab to move the plumbing lines and those kind of things. An ADA shower is huge, and you need this huge staging area in front of the shower. Most of your hallways are not going to be compliant. Your bedrooms may not be compliant with the doors. All of these things, I had to learn the hard way. I went in and did this home conversion thinking, oh, cool, I got all these bedrooms over here. I'm going to convert it and use these existing bathrooms. No, I literally had to demo the house down to the studs, talk to a structural engineer, add all of these beams because I had to move my walls because they were not allowing me to meet ADA requirements. So what are the ADA requirements for you? Because it's probably not your city who's going to implement these. It's usually your licensure. The licensure requires you to be compliant to a certain amount. Here in Texas, for a home conversion, you have to be 50% compliant. So that means all of your bedrooms and all of your bathrooms have to be 50%. Even your closets have to be ADA compliant. You have to have 32 inches of clear space to get into the closet. You know that you have to have a top rail and a bottom rail. Anything that you offer to somebody standing, you have to offer somebody in a wheelchair. So now you had to add, another bar and another rack down below. I didn't know any of these things, right? Everything that you think is probably fine is probably not fine. ADA gets into so many things on the weeds on all of these kind of things. So if you're building new construction, it has to be fully 100% ADA compliant. And that's even the front porch, the back porch, the slope, the drainage, ramps. Man, these things get crazy. These guys come out with a laser level and they're checking all the different areas. If you're not hitting the exact proportions on it, they make you rip it up. Literally like the concrete or whatever you're doing, rip it up, re-pour it. It gets expensive if you screw this thing up. So you may think to yourself, man, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to do this conversion. And you buy this beautiful house. And then you learn this lesson the hard way. And you know what it means? It means you have to demo your stinking house, right? This beautiful house, all of these walls are coming down. All of this plumbing, you're going to have to chip up the concrete slab and move everything over. Or even worse than that, you're going to realize, dang, I can't even do this deal. For me, I did demo first. I demoed the whole thing. And then I found out these hard lessons, right? I'm like, oh crap, my budget just went up by so much money, right? So at least find out on the front side before you start, demoing and remodeling a house, only to find out you can't even do this. You're going to finish the whole project, go through licensure, and then get stuck because you're not compliant with the licensure ADA code. The third biggest obstacle you're going to have to overcome is an awkward layout. You're never going to get your perfect property when you're doing a home conversion. If you want a perfect property, you have to build new construction. But you're going to be sacrificing on a lot of things. Your bedrooms. You're going to take existing bedrooms. There's going to be a master bedroom, which is good size. And then there's going to be a bunch of kids' rooms. And as you're going and touring these rooms, you're going to have a hard time selling them, honestly. Like you're going to start losing income because your rooms are too small. And then you got to start dropping the prices. And then you're probably not going to have all private bathrooms and private bedrooms. If you could have a private bath, man, you can sell so many more people. They want a private bedroom and a private bath, and they will pay an additional $1,000 more than somebody who does not have a private bath. So you're going to be having a hard time selling your rooms and then have to lower your bed rates in order to do it. That's why you see all these $3,500, $4,000, home conversions, right? And then you see new construction and they're charging double those prices because that's what people want. If you can make it the way people want, man, it'll be so much better for you. The biggest lesson that I learned is the amount of space that you need when you have all these grandmas and then they're in wheelchairs. The thing about at Mesa, our home conversion property, is our dining room is just a little bit too small. And we have two big long tables there where all our grandmas eat around it. We have 16 grandmas. And you know what? It's a little tight. So when one of the grandmas has to pee, and they're usually mostly in wheelchairs. We have to pull out like 3 grandmas in wheelchairs and then take this other little lady, wheel her off to the restroom, toilet her, bring her back in, move the other ladies back in. And it's this whole ordeal. If I would have known, or if I would have built purpose-built, I would have had enough room to wheel somebody out and be able to do that. As you're going down just a regular house hallway, regular house hallways are like 32, 33 inches wide, right? That's wheelchair almost scraping both sides. You have to back them up when someone else is coming down the hallway the other way. And so when you're doing these home conversions, you're gonna have to sacrifice. And honestly, I think there's really 2 biggest things that the net result is. It's sales. You're not gonna be as profitable. You will not have as high of income because you're not gonna have private rooms. You're not gonna have a bath for everybody. So therefore your bed rates are gonna be lower, and then you're gonna have a hard time selling those rooms. You're not gonna have a wait list. So therefore you're gonna be even more lowering the prices. So you're gonna make less profit. And the other side of this, you don't have a purpose-built building, which means it's harder on your staff. And really that means your best staff that you would expect to stay for 2, 3, 4 years, they're gonna move on. After 6, 9 months, they're gonna go somewhere else where they can care and love for the same amount of grandmas, but do it where there's not this burden of like, hey, you know what? There's just not enough space for me to toilet them, right? I'm hurting my back because I can't get in a great position. This ultimately leads to you as the owner. When your staff are turning, then it puts more pressure on your manager. When your manager gets stressed out or quit, then it all comes back to you as the owner, and then you have to step in. These are the 2 things that I want. I want consistent income and I want consistent time freedom. And it makes it so difficult when you're doing a home conversion. That's honestly why I like new construction. I'm only building new construction now. But I do think there is a great path forward for people who want to do the home conversion. So I would encourage you to check out our product on Mesa. It's gorgeous. It's an amazing example of what you can do. It's not perfect by any means. There are definitely challenges that we're dealing with, and we learn those lessons the hard way so that on our new build mansions, we can make them perfect.